All right, so it should be recording now. Audio sources should be there. All right, so it should be good. Media sources muted. Yeah, we should be good. All right, so previously we were talking about uh, the Unabomber Manifesto and talking about how both of us want to emulate Uncle Ted one day.
Of course, yeah, naturally.
Obviously, clearly, that is the correct thing to do. No, no, we want to like explore his ideas, and I think both of us have had agreements and disagreements with him on varying levels. So what you said you were saying when we were talking before the start of the recording that you had some notes that you wanted to go over as well.
We went over a lot of them the last time. I'm just trying to bring them up right now. 'Cause they were on my tablet and not my actual PC.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I know I listened to the end of the last one just to get a refresher because it's been a while, and I know we were talking a little bit about the Swiss and the idea of like perpetuating a culture of self sufficiency,
Mm-hmm.
and how the U.S. basically moved from a primarily agricultural society. Well, what's we were just talking about before we started recording, right?
Mm-hmm.
The U.S. used to be a primarily agriculturally driven society, where
Yeah, pre the
you know,
industrial revolution.
yeah, well, even
Even through the
post,
industrial revolution,
yeah,
yeah.
um, would have been heavily independent because everybody would have been growing a substantial amount of their own food and creating their own goods.
Mm-hmm.
And sure, there would be people who would have specializations. It's one of the Townsend videos. I actually quite like that channel. I don't know if you've checked it out at all. I think I've linked it a few times in the Discord. But one of the episodes they have is about brick making and how there would be people who would go from town to town and teach people how to make bricks. And
Mm-hmm.
so they would sell them bricks maybe at first or teach them for
They would
money.
have bricks that they would sell, and they would also teach them how to make them.
Yeah, and then once people had learned how to make them, then they would be mostly doing it on their own. Um, and it's not a terribly hard thing to do necessarily. It's just time consuming, and
Right.
so there would still be people obviously who like might not be able to get around to buying or to making all the bricks that they would need, and so they would buy them. Um, and so yeah, you still have trade and services like that. Um, where did I put? I don't know where it went. Oh, it just have to do without. Um, yeah, so that was that's sort of the core of it. Is that like it's moved to a more interdependent setup, and I think that's one of the big things that is being complained about is it's like you're no longer able to be reliant on your community. You now have to be reliant on and I think it would be sort of galling to him. I'm sure it is. The extent to which we're dependent on like countries whose citizens we may never see for labor, for goods, for products
Not only
in
that
general.
we'll never see, but like that we have none of the repercussions from.
I don't know about that. I think it's actually sort of the opposite that we have no control over it, and yet we are affected by it.
No, what I mean by that, like one of the things that I really hate about the whole like the whole debate stuff about
Mm-hmm.
climate change
Yeah.
is the fact that you have people wanting us to take responsibility for the products that we make. I don't totally disagree with that, right? Like the whole with as far as the climate change thing goes, right?
Sure.
Um, but I think that the climate change thing is not is not being resolved or is not being taken care of from us in large part because we are not seeing the direct consequences of the actions that have been taken.
Yeah, well, it's just one of those things where like, I think the same person who complained about um the need for people to work for factories run by these international corporations would be similarly appalled, and maybe he is in his other writings, that like a crisis in China would tank our economy.
Right.
Like we have no control over what they do whatsoever. We have no ability to really influence them in any meaningful way. And yet, if China were to decide tomorrow to shut down trade, I mean, they would be screwed, but we would also be screwed, and there'd be nothing we could do about it because we simply don't have the replacement infrastructure in the
Right.
West. We probably should, but we don't.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I think. Like having, like honestly, having manufacturing here locally, uh, would be better. Like that's one of the things I really disagree with Freeman about is this whole magical. It's like this magical ethereal plane where trade will solve all problems.
Well, and it's one of those things where it's like certainly trade solves a lot of problems, and it's fine as long as you're not. This is kind of where I part ways with a lot of the people who are complaining about capitalism at this point, because really, when you look at the way that things are right now, the the situation exists in the way that it does because we've kind of regulated ourselves into a corner. So like your average person, we talked about like last time how or I mentioned something about someone it's not desirable to work at Amazon, but it's better to work at Amazon than to be destitute. Um, and there's a similar sort of thing when it comes to labor in general, where like the implication is, well, we need to increase the amount that can be paid at minimum, and all that ultimately does is shave down the number of people that can possibly work. Because if I can, if I have say $300 to budget per month for my tiny business, and I have to pay somebody $200 a month, then I'm only going to hire one guy. I can't hire any more than one person, right? And but if I can pay people significantly less than that, then I can hire more people. And the it doesn't seem to me that increasing the amount that I have to pay somebody increases their relative wealth. Instead, it just sort of creates a situation where now everything's more expensive, because why would I, as somebody making, you know, if we increase it from like say $30 a day to $60 a day, and I was already making $60 a day, why would I be content making the minimum amount?
Yeah, no, like that's not a terrible plan, or not a terrible not plan. That's not what I meant. It's not a terrible argument, but the thing is the way the way in which we are. I don't know. So if an iPhone, right, um,
Yeah,
cost $700 to make, or $300 to make here, right?
yeah,
Rather than having a $300 bomb, right? Um, then it would probably go up like another like $200 or so in total unit price, and they probably would not be designed to be so disposable because people would not want to dispose of them because they would be a higher ticket item.
yeah. Well, so Uh, yeah, and I don't know what the incentive structure will be like. Who will step in to fill the gaps? Because we kind of eroded a lot of that.
Yeah.
But but yeah, going back to sort of the I guess the Ted side of this is, and this kind of relates to I guess some contemporary issues, that I'm not going to get into in too much detail, but it does seem like it's being proven correct per recent events.
Mm-hmm.
The implication that people would rather do a shitty job than no job,
Yeah.
right? That it depresses people to have nothing to do and to have nobody need them for anything and just to receive money. There's nothing fulfilling about that existence.
Right.
And while people will be content to numb that with various, you know,
Substances.
well, not even necessarily substances, right?
No.
The opiates come in many
In,
shapes
in
and
many
sizes,
shapes and sizes. That's true.
right?
Uh,
The
you have everything uh like we're one step away from them just developing soma. So.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too, right? This kind of gets into his comment about the controls becoming more advanced as society becomes more advanced.
Hmm.
Um, I do wonder about that because there's a certain extent to which the technology that we have now makes breaking off easier than it would have been previous. Like if you had to go build a log
Well, no,
house
but
completely
like
from
that's one of
scratch.
the reasons why I think the governmental controls are becoming much more strict.
Possibly, yeah. But the thing is, right? Like if you look at I had a conversation earlier today in another Discord where it was talking about methods for processing chickens, right?
Hmm.
And it's like, oh, if you boil water at 150 degrees, dunk the chicken in for like 30 seconds. There's a machine that you can drop the chicken in, and it's basically a bunch of uh rubber limbs basically sticking into the center of this thing that spins around, and it
Oh, to pluck it.
yeah, and it tumbles it to pluck it. It just slaps all the feathers off, and and that takes like a minute.
I'm gonna eat you so hard your feathers are gonna fall off in a bucket.
Yes.
Now,
So 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 like that is way faster,
yeah,
right? Like you can process, and you don't have to be plucking it the whole time, right? You dip it in one, you drop it in the other, you pick it up when it's done, right? You hose it down, and that's about it. That's way easier.
it
Um,
is.
so like there's certain ways in which technology has made tasks more doable, and there's something to be said for like maybe the task is supposed to be that long. Um,
It's
but
not that it's supposed to be that long, but like the point I was making is that we've become a very disposable society, like
oh, absolutely.
both for like moralistically, I guess, and then also like just in like what consumerism has become. It's been very become very disposable, like
Yeah.
disposable whatever, like disposable phones at this point.
Mm. Oh, yeah. I'm honestly, for the record, as a side note, I am glad that I've got out of the smartphone game.
Fair enough. Fair
That
enough.
I keep running into people who are like, I don't understand how I could live without my smartphone. I'm like, well, turn it off for like a week, and you'll see that it's honestly pretty easy.
Yeah, it's not that hard. I have a roommate that's like definitely addicted to his fucking smartphone,
Yeah.
and it's
Well,
like,
and it's all useless crap. Like,
yeah,
I mean, right now I'm playing an MMO, like as a general thing, right? But I'm
mm-hmm.
doing that with friends, so at least it's a social thing. And I don't normally play MMOs anyway, so I'm allowing myself to indulge in something that is kind of a big waste of time. Um, but the the thing is, right? Like that at least is like I'm doing something. I'm setting weird little goals for myself that, like, while irrelevant in the grand scheme of
Well, I mean,
things, I can go and accomplish.
going back to the conversation about Uncle Ted, like he would have said that was a pseudo ability or
Oh,
a
absolutely, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna pretend that this is anything meaningful. I would never do so. This is just a fun time killer with friends.
right,
But I'm not sitting here checking for messages every 30 seconds,
right.
right? So it's like I would be wasting this time if I had a smartphone. And I'd be wasting it doing something even shittier than playing an MMORPG.
Right. Yeah, I can
And
see that.
that I think is sort of like the worst part about the modern era is like, yeah, the MMO gotcha whatever stuff, that stuff sucks. And
The Skinner boxes.
I yeah, well, and to be honest, like, again, this hasn't really been too much of a Skinner box thing for me. I can just turn this off at any point in time. I don't give a shit.
But I'm just
It
saying, like video games
oh yeah.
have like at least a Skinner box is at least something. It's not great, but
Well,
it's
oh no,
something.
I would actually go the opposite way with that. I think that like if something is actually giving you that like Skinner box trained mentality, you should stop it.
Mm.
If
Well,
it's
no,
something that
but
you're
I think um the social medias are doing the same. I do the same thing,
oh
right?
yeah yeah, and I think people should cut that out.
Yeah, but I'm saying like at least with the Skinner box in a video game, at least it's someone at least it's someone like designed it. I guess I don't know.
My I
It's
don't know
somehow less dirty to me.
my sort of ideal Kaczynski-esque fucking Butlerian jihad definitely extends to the removal of social media. As much as I've been enjoying mines, I would include mines in that just because, like on principle,
It is
it
a social
is
media.
only a matter it is only a matter of time before it becomes the same thing,
Yeah, before it
right?
becomes the monster that it hates if it's successful.
Yeah.
That's the other thing too is like that's why I'm fine. You being an anarchist, you obviously do not approve of this, but I am okay with the idea of government interference in social media because I feel like it's doing its job, right? Like the job I see for governmental interference is to mitigate externalities.
So I think ultimately the issue that you're going to run into is the exact one that Ted Kaczynski points out to, which is you're basically strengthening the government controls.
Yeah, I know, I know. Well, I want to get rid of the of other governmental controls too, but I get.
Well, so the thing is, right? As it stands, and we've talked about this, sort of I guess offline, you could say, even
Yeah.
though it's not really offline. Um, uh, but
Outside of our conversations here.
yeah, we've discussed this before, and ultimately the the major social media companies are already government apparatus.
Yeah.
So like the idea that the government is going to come in and regulate them and that's not going to backfire horribly just seems absurd to me.
Right. I get that. I understand your opinion on that.
But that's not an opinion though. That like that's the reality of the situation is that Facebook and Twitter and Google
Mhm.
directly report to
Yeah.
members of both the DNC and the deep state.
Well,
That's not
and the
even a
RNC DNC doesn't matter. It's like they report to the government. Like there is no difference between the two, really. Like the RNC and the
sure.
DNC are two wings of. I think it was Michael Malice that said, or no, it was Tim Pool that said I can't remember which one it was. Anyways, that said Republicans are just progressives going the speed limit.
So technically that is I think that's Michael Mouse, but he was quoting somebody else. I think he said in the end.
Yeah, maybe it
Um,
was I can't remember who it was now. It's not
it was,
important. It's not
yeah.
important for the purposes of the conversation. But the point is that I agree with that sentiment. That sentiment. Uh, the governmental parties are just different branches of the same party. Like they both want
Well,
the same progressive ends.
there was a video by the distributist uh, that I may have linked. I know I linked one or two of his videos in the Discord, but he was basically talking about how I think this was him, unless I'm mixing up which things I every once in a while I'll go on a big binge and I'll listen to a bunch of different videos and they'll all be sort of long form essay based things. But this one was sort of about the idea of the construction of it was the distributist, the construction of the cathedral, right? Now the cathedral is not necessarily an organized, centralized
Mm-hmm. It's tabula rasa.
well no, it's not that. It's not necessarily a hive that you're dealing with so much as it is, um, you know, different organizations that can act independently that ultimately are working towards the same goal,
Mm.
right? And there will be infighting, but the
Or not
infighting
tabula.
never.
No, not tabula rasa. What's the other one? Everyone just is working towards the same goal, but they have no like consciousness of that they are doing it.
Hmm.
Can't remember the name
Oh,
of it.
you're talking about standalone complex?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't even know that I would go so far as to say it's a standalone complex, because that's like totally independently people came to the same conclusion. I think it's ultimately similar ideas and people brought them there, but I don't think that there's a necessary plan. I think people are just, like how when you decide that you're working towards a particular idea or cultural shift or what have you, right? You're not
Yeah,
working
like
necessarily
everyone
with
should
like
get married and have kids.
yeah. So like you and like Charlie Kirk will both agree on that point,
Hmm.
but you're not working with Charlie Kirk.
Right. Yeah. 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 Well, no, I think a lot of the election fraud was very much like that, right?
Yeah.
I don't think like the thing that people are misinterpreting is like I don't think it was like some uh, mass coordination or anything like that. If there was election fraud, I should state that.
I think there may be some if it were to turn out that was the case in theory.
Mhm.
I think it would be possible for some of it to be coordinated, but then a lot of it would not be at the same
Yeah, but
time.
I don't think it
Right?
was coordinated at like the DNC level or anything. Like if there was coordinated efforts uh, to do that, I don't think the DNC coordinated it. I think
I,
it.
I, I think it would depend on where the issues were found, if
Yeah.
if any issues were found. So, like for instance, if the theory about the voting machines had been proven right across the board, that to me would be someone higher up than your local
Oh
districts,
yeah.
and so there would have to be some larger organization working towards that. If not the DNC, then some apparatus of the federal government in general,
Yeah.
right? Because
I mean, I think
you're
I'm much more inclined to believe that the CIA did it than the DNC.
well, what's the difference?
um.
um,
Okay.
um, we have to be a little bit shitposty sometimes. Um, but yeah, that's the thing, right? Is um, you can have people that are ultimately working towards the same goal without expressly being part of the same organization.
Yeah, and I agree.
And
I
so that I
agree. I
think,
agree with that. I understand that opinion, and I don't think you're wrong. I'm just.
sure. Um, I would say as well that this kind of relates again to Kaczynski's point, which is that the um, the apparatus is naturally going to go in this direction because that's really the only thing that it's designed to do.
Yeah. It is a feature, not a bug.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's unfortunate because there were definitely attempts at the beginning, right, by the founding fathers to create a system that would limit that, and it's pretty clear that was
Failed
not.
almost instantly.
Yeah, well, yeah, it did fail almost instantly. It was not an effective method of preventing the consolidation of power. Um, and so that's where your sort of anarchist libertarian split comes in, where ultimately I can't see libertarianism in terms of like minarchism or what have you as anything other than like I want to press the reset button.
You're not totally wrong. Um, like no, I feel like that's actually a very good analogy. Like that's a very good analogy of like what I want to do. I want to
So
hit the reset button
my
and try
question
again.
is, my question though then is, how is this not money printer go burr, but on a political scale?
Well, I mean, if we hit the reset button, we couldn't make the burr noise yet. It would
No, no,
take
but
it.
but but my point is like money printer go burr is, oh, we've really fucked this up. We need to get it back to a non-fucked state. And so you do a little bit of trolling, right? You decide, well, what we're gonna do is we're going to print enough money that we can pay off what we need to pay off, and someone down the line can deal with the consequences of our actions, right? So you know that at the end of this tunnel is someone staring at you from from behind the barrel of a gun, telling you you have to do this, this, and this, or you don't get to live in society anymore. and none of the things that they're asking for are things that are necessary
Well, I
or
think
or
yeah, but I think one of the main problems that we've had is like I think we need to refine the system, um, for sure.
what refinements do you feel that the founding fathers overlooked?
Well, for one, they did not make enforcement of the constitutional amendments more rigorous.
Well, how does it get more rigorous than the population picks up guns?
It's true. It's because the
Who else
population
is?
is. It's because the population isn't picking up guns.
Yes, but how do you? That's the maximum escalation, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the we're going to nuke you, right? And if someone if this is the
I think every state should mandate basic gun ownership
that was
education.
there's actually a guy in the Beauty and the Beta Discord who went by the moniker mandatory carry, and he wanted to enforce the carrying of firearms, and yeah, that was a whole thing. That was an interesting set of conversations.
He's not
But
wrong.
the problem is that's still you're gonna mandate that
It's
people.
still force. I get it.
Yeah.
And any mandate is ultimately wrong, but he's not totally wrong. Like
Well,
I don't think mandating uh, the use and carry of firearms is the right way to go. But I think maybe requiring I wouldn't mandate it. I would require it for something. Like
so what I would say,
I would require you to have uh, good and uh, good knowledge and understanding of the practice of those of that for you to get like the right to vote or something.
so I've said this before. It's baffling to me that in a country where the right to bear arms is so enshrined and is so important to the structure of the system, that you have a public schooling system that's meant in theory, not in practice, right? In the most charitable theory that I can possibly construct to create um like viable citizens. That in that education is nothing about the thing that the second thing you're granted as a right.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's absurd. Um, I think any attempt to suggest an education system for the citizenry that does not include uh, firearm safety, uh, you know, things of that nature, uh, is inherently just a fraud.
Mm-hmm. No, I
It is
agree.
a
Well,
scam.
the other one is like most high school education doesn't actually teach civics either.
Sure.
I think civics and like how to start a business are more important than physics.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Less as Kaczynski would say, less teaching people how to be computer nerds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
which is also why, like, I don't know, I can't view the public school system as anything other than just an indoctrination factory.
Mm-hmm.
Um, at this point, and I haven't even read the John Taylor Gatto book yet. It's on my list,
Mm.
but I plan on it. Um, but yeah, the issue, it seems, is that like any attempt to retain this giant bloated system, even if it's just to press the reset button on it, is just pushing the kicking the can down the road.
Hmm. I suppose I don't know. I think it's a hard one to like totally. It's a hard one to totally rectify for sure. Um, and there's no like even so the thing that he's talking about to bring back does like doesn't really it doesn't really solve the problem either, right? It's just you're gonna have like the technocrats are just going to eventually evolve again, the same way as pressing the reset button, because you have to have some means of enforcement for for that in order for it to not evolve into technocrats again. Like I see no way. Like oh, fuck, I hate that I'm gonna say this. I see no way to enshrine liberty without some form of some mechanism of enforcement for it, so that others cannot steal your liberty.
Well, I mean, by what? We're kind of getting off the topic of Uncle Ted, but this is fine. By what means is someone going to uh, take away that liberty?
By what means are they going to take it away?
By what means?
Well, I mean, like, it would be governmental means in either case, right? Like the enforcement and protection of the liberty and the removal of liberty are both going to be technocratic, or not governmental
Okay.
in the scenario that I am suggesting.
Well, so you're comparing what two scenarios?
I'm not comparing any two scenarios. I'm saying
Okay.
that the scenario that Uncle Ted is suggesting,
Hmm.
and the scenario of protecting said liberty from being taken, both would require some means of enforcement. So,
Sure.
like in order for his system to work, you're still gonna need some means of enforcement. And I think that the mechanism of enforcement that we had in our country was religion.
I was gonna say actually, you could basically just create a new set of almost religious or cultural tenets. Um, kind of like what ends up happening in Dune, right? Like
Yeah.
the idea of
Is it
the machine with the mind of a man.
orange Catholicism or something like that?
Well, no, that the Orange Catholic Bible is just one of several like artificial fragmented religions that the Ben Gesserit create in order to influence politics of other planets. But the idea of like the Butlerian Jihad is like at the forefront of people's minds like 3 and 4 thousand years later, and sort of the idea behind that is like, well, part of the idea is behind that is that he didn't want to talk about the sci-fi elements,
Yeah.
but part of it is also
He also
like,
wanted a shortcut
sure,
to get to the.
and
Yeah, go ahead.
and I would never say it worked in a book, ergo we should do it, because that's stupid. I
Right.
hate when people do stuff like that, right? Like when you get the people who are
Dude,
like,
Star Trek had replicators. As soon as you get replicators, it's gonna work, man. It's just
oh
gonna be
no, no, I
fine.
got I got a better one. I can't believe you're making an AI. Haven't you watched Terminator?
Fucking hell.
People really say, real people say that,
I
and I'm
know.
baffled every time I hear it.
It's like, yeah, that was a
It,
movie.
it, it doesn't mean anything that it happened in like I don't know. I don't even disagree with the notion that we shouldn't be creating AI. I just think Terminator is not how I would explain to someone that it shouldn't be done. Um, but yeah, it's that same sort of thing where it's like, you know, the the sort of religious or heavily cultural institution. As long as you can keep the culture consistent, which, you know, kind of brings us on to some other topics that are maybe a little spicier. But as long as you can keep the culture consistent, then you have this
for the
about.
protection of the children.
Oh, I'm not
I know,
going that
I
far.
know. It's just,
But even just like the idea of like, oh well, you know, if we have this problem, we should just stop immigration until we can get it sorted. That is already like terrifying to a lot of people, which is weird because like a lot of people are the same people who purport to care about the average worker, right? The factory worker who Kaczynski is certainly trying to liberate, and you can see where they come at cross purposes, right?
mm-hmm.
The Kaczynski wants to liberate the worker by destroying the factory and returning society to honestly a frankly less efficient state, so that those people are more needed.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas your average like neolib or socialist is more concerned with like, I guess probably not the socialists, but they seem to be for open borders for their own reasons. But the neolib types are like, well, we need to just make it so that the iPads are cheaper, and that doesn't. I don't understand why that would be the goal. Like, why would the goal be, oh, now this consumer product that you don't need is cheaper, rather than like people have a meaningful existence, that the people that already live in the country are happy, as opposed to, oh, but now you can go on like Skype for free. Okay.
Yeah. Well, look, man. My Chinese piece of shit costing $500 instead of $700 is the key to happiness.
It, it,
And if you just don't understand that, you just don't understand happiness.
well, and it's
Can
not
you no,
even
but
as
like
though.
can't you tell from the way I'm talking how happy I am about everything?
Yeah. Well, and it's not even like fewer people GDP go down, right?
Yeah.
That's been the big lie here, is that we need more people to increase our GDP. Just look at the United States. Okay,
Mhm.
well, look at Norway. Look at Sweden. Look at Switzerland. They have fewer people than Canada does, and they make
Right.
more money total. I believe, not to say nothing of like more money per capita,
Mhm.
right? So their people are happier, they're healthier, they make more money, and there
Yeah.
are fewer of them. How does that work?
It's almost like they manage it better.
It's almost like a lot of it isn't managed, to be honest.
Yeah. It, it's like distributed networks are more efficient. Is that what you're trying to
It's
say?
more it's more like the Swiss inclination towards localism helps them in some way.
That's true too. I don't know. There.
Localism and integration.
Yeah. Was it you that I was talking to about the Swiss made their own Coca Cola?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I was telling you about that.
Yeah. Like that. Those sort of things. Are the things that we need, and they are cultural things, not I don't know. They're not political things,
Yeah.
and we have to. I don't know. We have to like make the culture value those things again. I guess.
Well, I don't think you can. This is actually this is again sort of a split in the like anarchist libertarian uh grouping.
Ethos.
Um, where I think the average anarchist at this point is beyond the idea of getting Joe Blow to agree with an like the average person is not going to go, yeah, we need the ANCAP state, but they might go, I don't care what those guys over there do in the mountains.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the other thing too. Like what I want in a libertarian society is if you want to pay for all of the people to have all of the things, you can do that. And I don't get to use the things that you're giving to all of the people, but I don't have to pay for the things that I don't want to.
So you're
Like
looking for more of a like
volun
a Randian volunteer state.
Yeah, I like the volunteerism thing. I don't think it.
Um,
I'm not saying that it's necessarily practical either. I'm just saying like that is the idea that the that people feel it's okay to force other people to do things against their will is very odd to me. I don't understand why they think because like why they think the majority making a decision means it's okay to oppress a minority is
well,
still mind-boggling to me.
I mean, look at global trade and look at the current concerns surrounding climate, and you'll have your answer right there, right? What China does ultimately affects us, and we can't do anything about it. What if we could?
I mean, we can do something about it. We have a lot of nukes.
Yeah, but So does China, right? So at the end of the day, everyone's
Oh,
getting
look,
nuked,
look,
and
look,
nothing's
look, look. If we nuke China and they nuke us, that's like 96% of the pollution just taken care
I suppose.
of.
I am surprised that there hasn't been an environmentalist calling for this plan of action.
There have
Um,
been many
have there actually been?
environmentalists. Yeah.
I've seen the ones where they've asked that humanity just die. I've seen that,
Uh-huh.
but I haven't seen um
Oh yeah.
the
No.
start a nuclear war to own the polluters.
Oh
That's a
yeah.
new one.
Yeah. No. It was. I knew some like Greenpeace,
Oh,
like
okay, yeah.
enviro fascists, and they were like, yeah, we just need to start a war big enough to kill enough people that we solve climate change.
Oh, sure, but I assume when they say war big enough, they're not thinking like the entire land is an irradiated
Oh
wasteland.
yeah. No. They're fine with that.
Huh.
Because
Interesting.
like, because the thing is that the land being in an irradiated wasteland is like a 10,000 year problem.
It's actually less than that, to be honest.
I know, but like for us, it would be like a 10,000 year problem, right? Even for humans.
Hmm.
So like their concern is like the oceans are fine and it'll be fine.
Hmm.
Basically, it's like if all the humans die, like no matter the means of killing the humans, all that matters is that they're dead.
I
And
just want to see the simulation where they kick that off and then something else happens and it fucking dries up all the oceans and it meant nothing.
or worse yet, the nuclear fallout causes a chain reaction and all the algae dies.
Oh, or does the the actual like the setting details behind Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, right?
No, and I don't think I've ever read.
Oh,
I've watched Blade
so
Runner, but I don't remember reading the book.
so basically the nuclear war that happens causes like a permanent fucking cloud that blocks out the sun. So no plants can grow. And so they all have to be grown synthetically, and then the animals can only survive by having people take care of them.
Nice.
So they create an entire empathy religion, um, that like denotes that like you have to show empathy towards another creature, or you're awful basically.
Mm.
And then because the price of animals goes up because they're rare, and you can't show your empathy without taking care of an animal, people start getting artificial animals, which is the reason for the title.
Yeah, do androids dream of
Yeah.
electric sheep?
Do androids share our anxiety at not being able to prove to other people
That
that
they're
we're
empathetic.
empathetic? Yeah, which is actually the whole sort of farce of it. It's a really interesting book from that perspective. I would highly recommend reading it. Um,
I've read other stuff. I've read I don't think it was Scanner Darkly. It was the one with the pink laser.
Laser.
Yeah, so it's like the main character starts getting visions of God, and the messages of God are being sent to him through a pink lit laser.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah,
like
I need to read more Philip K. Dick. His writing style's a little bit dry, but I like his ideas. So.
I was watching Michael Malice, and he was talking about Chuck Palahniuk, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
And he was like, "Yeah, Chuck, he has like
yeah.
really
I
good
saw that.
story ideas, but he's just not a very good writer."
It's funny. I actually really enjoyed the way that Fight Club was written.
No, I know, but it was just like that's
Oh
like
yeah, no, yeah.
that really encapsulates him as a person, I think. Uh, but no, I like that one too. Um, uh, but yeah, I'm gonna. I don't know. I think Uncle Ted is what he is. I don't know if it's gonna. I don't think that world that he wants is ever gonna come into pass. Um,
No, and I think it's largely infeasible, and it kind of returns to the anarcho-primitivist problem, just at a different point in time.
hmm So I don't. Yeah. So I don't think it's gonna happen, and I don't think it's gonna go. I don't know. I don't think the world. I don't think anyone can predict where the world's gonna go. And
Um,
I think the thing. I was talking to you about this before, right? Like the thing that we need to do is we need to prepare people for what is going to come. Like there, it doesn't matter if it's gonna be like whatever, like what the ANCAPs think it's gonna be, what the libertarians think it's gonna be, whether it's gonna be a new rise of a new fascist state like the liberals think it's gonna be. There's going to be some like harsh and brutal change in the near future, and I think the sooner that we come to grips with that as a people, and the more people that come to grips with that as a people, the better the results can be for that for that event.
Yeah, I will say as well, the one thing that I do see that's maybe a little more optimistic is the the current trend towards like people wanting to get the hell out of cities.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big trend towards homesteading. There's a big trend towards self sufficiency. I do think that this will create a more not up to Texas standards, but more in that direction as sort of a parallel society.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
think
no, I
it'll
agree with
also
that.
drive demographic growth through something other than immigration, so that'll be nice too.
Yeah. All right. Well, good conversation as always. Do you have any other points you want to hit on?
No, I think we can tackle whatever we need to tackle next time.
All right, cool, man. Thanks as always. I'm gonna stop the recording now.
All right.